All right, greetings all you Ninja Devils out there. It's Sam at let's see, it's about 9:45 Sunday morning, February 26th. Now, this video will serve as kind of the final version walkthrough of features of our new volume profile indicator. Now, I'd released a couple of videos over the last few weeks as we were still in beta, just essentially looking for feedback, and we've tweaked a few things, added a few things. So this will be the final version. Now, I'm not going to get into great detail here on application. This is really more features based, so you understand what features are in here, and then in additional videos here, we'll probably add it to a playlist here on volume profile. We'll get into some application. Now, I'm going to work off of this is a 4,500 tick chart of the micro ES. Right, just working off of the March contract here, and I've got it. I've got the full ETA session up here. So let's just start working slowly through the features. And I should note as well, I do have our initial balance indicator on, which as I always do to frame the day, right, first hour of trading. And then I've got our toolbar on as well because I'm going to grab things from that. And you'll see some of these, some of the levels here are coming from the initial balance indicator. Okay, to the volume profile. All right, so currently, let's just start at the top here. Now, I actually have two of them applied here, and we'll get to that as to why in a second. But let's start over here. So first thing is to turn it on or off, right? So now, if you turn it off, because it's coloring the bars and there's a bar coloring component to it. If you turn it off, right, you're going to lose everything. So, but we certainly want to keep it enabled on. Now, there are reasons you might want to do that without coloring the bars, but for the time being here, it's kind of an on-off. Now, profile sessions here. Now, I have it set. I start here with custom session. Now, custom session is just going to give you the RTH. It's going to exclude the overnight hours or the overnight trading session. So it's a very convenient way to just quickly with one click get to the RTH session. If I want the full session, I just go to daily. Right now I'm going to include all of that overnight, and we're just going to go to the beginning of each 24-hour period here. Now, there is a feature where it will mark the start of the RTH. You see that line right there, and that's kind of an on-off here, session divider on-off, which is kind of handy though to make that distinction between overnight and the RTH session. So it's just kind of a nice little feature here that we added to it. Okay, but already I digress. Okay, so profile, do I want custom as in RTH? Do I want every X number of bars? That might be a special application. Do I want all the bars that it can see? That's kind of a, if you wanted everything to be included, I mean, at least we're giving you that option. Would you want to go to a weekly? We'll look at that again on something larger than a 4,500 tick, monthly, or just visible range, which you probably would just make sense. Or if you're used to TradingView, visible range is just going to give you a volume profile on everything that it can see, and as you move the chart, it will add to that. So those are your choices here in terms of the profiles that you can choose from. Now, in addition to profile choices here, and as we look at others, I'll show you some ways we can quickly move back and forth. Well, now we get into the color mode. I have it currently and defaults to mono. Now, the advantage of mono is that the low or high volume nodes here, as I have them marked here, are going to stand out, as well as the POC. Right, or VWAP here, as the case may be, as I have VWAP kind of fattened up here and extended. So by doing it that way, let's go back here. Pardon me, here in mono, it kind of highlights them. Now I could go to heat map as well, and that's just going to, as would make sense here, it's just going to give you that brighter red color around where the majority of the trading took place. So it's giving you almost a refinement within the value area. So it can be something that's meaningful, right, as we get into these lower ranges here as we move through quickly. Some people really like it. I kind of go back and forth. We're here where we've got very even distribution here. But now you can lose a little bit, right? Oh, where's the POC? Oh, right. Oh, there it is. Or here's the high volume. So it's kind of personal preference. And of course, you can change those colors, just like all Ninja indicators. You can change the colors to your liking. These are just what you're going to see in the default. Okay, wrong one. Let me keep moving down here. So there's heat map. I could do buy sell, right? Pretty standard, right? Where's the buy sell? I could do delta if I wanted to see where the aggressive market orders were, and I could do a combination of those two. So I could get a mono volume profile, and then I can get the delta on top of that. that certainly can have application, right? So that's these are just personal preferences, choices, but we're giving you those options, and you might start with one and then gravitate to the other as you get better and more experience working with it. But lots of options for you to choose from in terms of how you want to view those heat maps. I'm just going to go for simplicity. I'm going to go back to the mono here, and we'll stick with that. Okay, so as I continue to move down, so we've got all of these choices. We've got the profile, what it is we want to profile. Then we've got our color choices. Now we've got decisions we can make within the current profile. So if I go to current profile, well, first, do I want it left or right? Right? Some people have a preference, right? There's a tendency people want to put the current profile on the right and then prior on the left. That's often how I will do it, but I switch back and forth here. It's just, again, personal preference. So if I go back to the left here, I can do that. Now, well, here, whoops. Let's get it back on the left. There we go. Okay, so let's go current profile. Now, do I want pivots? Okay, do I want those to be lines and labels or just a line? You can see they'll start showing up over here. That's a choice that you can make as to what you want to see. And then do I want to extend them or not extend them? There's extended, right? So you see value area high, value area low, POC, VWAP being extended. Here's the mid. Here's the session high. So it's extending those levels that might have meaning to you, and you might want to reference those throughout the course of the day. Now, some people say, oh, it's too many lines. I don't want them. Again, personal preference. Now you can do the same thing with the previous one. Now here, this is often a good idea to consider extending these because often these will come back into play. Now in this particular case, on Friday, with the exception of, well, it was kind of the overnight here, because we had such a dramatic move in the overnight, we didn't interact with any of the prior day's profile or any of those key levels. Interesting, but if you go back to the prior day, you see a whole lot of interaction. So it's just a function of kind of a preference. Do you want to see that? It's just an option. Basically, is what I'm telling you. You have the option here to whether you want to. Again, do you want labels, lines? Do you want left, right? Do you want to extend or not? Right. I'll take them off here just to clear up the chart. All right. We'll continue to work down that list. Now, as we get to our choices here as to whether we want to show or highlight or extend low volume nodes and high volume nodes. Now, currently, I have them all showing in the profile, but I'm not extending. So for example, if I wanted to extend the low volume nodes just for the session, right, I can do that. Now it will go back 2 sessions. So you'll see here it's going to end, the prior day is going to end at the start of the new day, right? So now of course visually you get a reference here. But here now as we go to the current day, the low volume nodes are being extended here. All right, now here's low volume from the overnight. Now I have the choice in those as to how many I want to see. So if I go back over here, well, how many do I want to see? I mean, you can get kind of crazy. You can have a lot, right? Well, there's kind of maxed out. Well, there would be 16. 3, 4 seems to be a good number. There's 2, 3, 4. You kind of got to use a little bit of judgment there. Again, personal preference. Whatever your preference is. Now you don't want so many lines that you can't see underneath it here. And if you went down to something very small, like a 512 or a 233 tick, you're going to have a lot of lines. But these significant low volume nodes here really have meaning in the market is because it's a reflection of an imbalance, right? So that's the point of marking those, as often you'll see the market react or reject there as it's essentially coming into the edge of an imbalance. So as let's see. We'll look at it on some smaller time frames, but you see here where we're kind of reaching up for this, and you might, it's we can look at that entire area here, this entire area as a low volume node. So do we tap it? Did we tap the exact lowest volume node? Well, we're a few ticks short of it here, but this would be an area that would draw your interest in the same way that this high volume node here would be of interest. So let me get that off of there and just, I tend to, I'll get sidetracked through trading talk. So let me go back here and let's go session. Now, if I wanted to, I could extend the prior day forward. Now, in this particular case here, because there's no interaction between the prior days and the current day, that really wouldn't be adding any value. So you can see here, well, there'd be no reason. I mean, if you got into it, but there would be no reason to extend that. So let's just go back to none. So I can see them here, but in the heat of the battle, there can be advantage in getting those extended across so you don't miss them. All right, so we've got the low volume and high volume. Now here, just so you see it, let's just do the high volume, right? So we can see that, right? Market's going to gravitate towards those high volume, right? That's where we have balance, right? As we move away, then we have imbalance, right? So as the overnight shows, we go from balance here to imbalance, and then the market will seek out balance, right? As is often the case. So some people like to highlight the high volume, some people the low volume. Right? Again, these are just, I'm not telling you one's right, one's wrong. These are just choices for you, and just kind of demonstrating all of the features that we built into this to give you that flexibility of what you'd like to see, and perhaps you're switching back and forth between them. So same thing over here. If I wanted to reduce the number, or if I wanted to extend forward from the prior day, again, right? You know, so here's a high volume node here that intersects with a low volume node that ends up, you know, 2 ticks from the session high. Just things to look for. Again, we're not really talking about application. Okay, so let me get that back to none. All right, moving down. Now, smoothing. This, again, is just personal preference. If I smooth it here, and let's see, you can see you kind of see this one over here. If I start to smooth it, right, it's kind of rounding it off. Now, one thing it does do is it really highlights the low volume, high volume. So we see this really kind of stand out. You see these here. Now, this again, this is very much personal preference. How smooth do you want them? Right, we're down to 4 here. That's, you know, I tend to use it. Again, this is just personal preference, right? I mean, there is no right wrong here, but smoothing it a little bit does offer some you know, visual benefit here, as we can really accent the high and low volume. So again, it's just a personal preference here. Smoothing on, smoothing off, right? It's not a dramatic difference, but you know, something to consider. If just personal choice, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it off. Now, just continuing to work down the list. Now we get into auto splitting. Now this is a little bit more complexity here. So let's just look at what we're doing here. So when we turn auto smoothing on, pardon me. I'm not trying to get to auto splitting. Currently the default will have it off. Now what we're doing when we're splitting is that we're taking a, God, I wish I could draw on here. Well, here's a good example. So what we're after is there are 3 types of profiles. So we want either a D type of profile here, which would be a balanced profile, a P, right, like this, as you see a P here, or a B. Now, if we get something where we have kind of or like a double B or a double P, the theory is that you want to separate those so that we don't end up with multiple high volume nodes. So here, now these don't really need a lot of splitting here on the 4500 tick, but if I was at either higher or a lower tick range, tick chart size, that might be appropriate. But this is actually a pretty good example where you're seeing the 3 types of profiles that we're looking for: D, P, B, right? Very nicely done. Okay, so if I was going to split some of these, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to auto splitting and I'm going to turn it on. Now, what the thresholds here that we're looking at, we're essentially saying I don't want you to split anything where less than 5% of the volume has occurred. I want at least 24, and again, these are, you can change these to your heart's content, right? Let's go to a round number. At least 20% of the time must have been spent there for us to call for us to consider splitting, and the threshold of the shape must be approximately 60%. So well, here, it's probably easier to just show it to you. All right, so I think it's easier to spot actually out here on a higher tick size. So here's an 18,000 tick, and I've got weekly profiles here. So just as we looked at earlier in terms of choosing profile sessions, I've gone to the weekly here off of the 18,000 tick. All right, so now we see this is a decent example here. See, I've got multiple high volume nodes, and that's not really what I want. This is a prime candidate to be broken up. Kind of the same thing here. I've got my nice balanced D here, but then I get another one down here. Same thing here. I've got too many high volume nodes, so it allows itself to be broken for us so I can get better analysis and I can see the PBs and Ds. So from here, let's go ahead to the volume profile, and now let's go to auto splitting, and you'll see what I mean. Same profile here, although all of these can be changed. All right, so now we get a bit of a split. Here's probably a good example here. So with what had been kind of a double profile here, now I get my nice D here. and then I go to the next profile here, which is more of a B shape here, and then down here again another B. We got lots of B's here as the market's drifting lower. So we're coming from balance and then getting down here where we find balance here, which creates the B profile. Here closer to a D as we get, this was a balanced day, and then down here again into the lower session here where we get a B. So these are weekly profiles on a higher time frame here, but you can see here, so that this is giving me additional insight here. Now this tends to be for a more advanced volume profile user. You don't have to do this. It's an option, right? So much of what we're doing here in this video here is not going through as much about application as we are just what's available to you. So for an experienced volume profile trader, right off the bat, you should be looking at this going, oh, these are some really, really cool features. If you're new to volume profile, okay, well, perhaps some of this doesn't quite connect into how am I turning this into better trading decisions, but we'll get there in some additional videos here. Right now, so that this isn't a 2-hour video, I'm just going to go through the feature list. So we're clear on those options. And of course, the other thing to remember here is all of our indicators can be trialed for 7 days. So you can download this, work with it for 7 days, make sure that it complements what you're already doing and that you see some value before you make an investment in it. Okay, let me, I think that covers the, let's go back to our 4,500 where we had the splits here. We're not, oh, one thing we might do here, let's do this. Let's go to custom session and then look at a split here. So we go down here. So now we're excluding the overnight. We're just going to RTH. So here, let's go back to this without a split so we can look at it. So the 4,500 is closer to probably proxy for a 5-minute. For a 5-minute chart. So here's the nice, and we see the double distribution that we get here. So we've got one kind of a D balance here, and then we get a second one down here. Well, if I'm going to split that, I think this actually works better here to not include the overnight. So do you see what we're doing here? So now this becomes a B profile here. So I get the insight and I get a POC for this section, right? So it's essentially what it's doing is sectioning off. So here's the B profile. So we see this is where the bulk of the volume is here as we get up above here. This is imbalance. We come back, we seek balance. Now here we get more of a D. Let me get that off of there. So here, this is a bit more balanced. So this range here, here's our nice distribution in the center. And then on the last one, well, we had some, oh, you probably could split that again. And you do get another split here. So here's the bulk of it, right? So you've kind of got a double here. You've got the bulk of your, again, just kind of draw it out this way, right? So here's the bulk of that, of where the market is balanced. Here we get outside, right? We're trying to get some legs here, and then we're back into balance. So again, this is an option. It's not for everyone, right? For the advanced user, this would have great benefit. For a new user, you might not necessarily get enough value from this, and you'd be just fine with an unsplit profile. So let's go back to turning that off. I mean, it's not like we can't see some benefit here from an unbalanced look at the volume profile of the RTH session. Again, here's the value area high. Here's the, where are you? Value area low right here. I don't have them extended. All right, so value area low. If you can see it right here, I'll just extend them. Let's do that. So let's go volume profile. Let's go to current profile. Let's extend the lines. Okay, so here's the value area high. Here's the value area low. Value area low, right? As you see how these can be really meaningful pivots, right? So we come to, well, here's value area high, right? So these are often rejection points here. So here we're getting through. Now here's a little bit of a retest, right? Oh, can we get legs here? But as is often the case, this is a probe to see if there's any legs up here to kick and turn it into a trend day. Rejected, happens to be the first test of the IB high, hint, hint. It comes back down here, and that's very much the typical rotation in a volume profile here. We're seeking to get legs and get a trend going here. It's rejected, so now we're coming back down to the other side of the volume profile, which is very typical. Here we're at the low end. Can we get any legs down here? By the way, that's the first test of the IB low. Not to digress, right? So we go first test IB low to first test IB high. All right, it's for another video, but that is a trade to be watching for. So you see, as we wrote, no legs down here. There's no follow through, so can't get any legs here. Well, let's go back up to the other side. Any legs here? Nope. Back to the lower side, back to the upper side, right to the middle. Okay, can we get any legs up here? Oh, it's a big effort to try. Nope. right back to VWAP, little kicker on the end, right? But that's very much how the market moves, right? So here we had this crazy V-shaped recovery. We go back at Asia, and now here I am getting into application. But you'll note here that we come from. Well, let's do the same thing here. Let's extend. Let's go to the previous session and let's extend the lines. Okay, so we get relatively early in the day. There's a wide volume profile here. So here's the value area low, right? I'm extending in. I'm using this darker green and this, whatever that is, kind of a purple up here, to highlight that volume profile, pardon me, the value area of the volume profile. But of course we can see the POC, right? This is which often will be a magnet to the market, is what we return to. So we come down here, we get through all of this balance, but you'll note here that there's pretty good amount of trading that happens down here. So we're rotating, right? Can we keep going? Nope. Oh, we're back into value right here. Now this is 70% of the trading volume, and this is an extreme example. Extreme, but you look first. Okay, can we get back in? Rejection. That's not surprising, and you got high volume here. So this is an area the market is testing, right? What are we going to do here? We back in, or are we getting rejected? Well, after an initial kick to try and reject it, now we're back in. Well, the next logical place we're going to go is VWAP, right? We've got a few low volume nodes it's going to have to get through, but we get to VWAP, then we're back to the IB low. Now ultimately we get all the way back to the POC and then back to the open. Just a remarkable day. Now there's a lot going on there, and again we won't try and reverse engineer exactly what happened there, but very likely this is option related. So you see kind of a nice variance here of extreme movement here, and ultimately going from balance to imbalance, then back to balance, then here more rotational. This is more typical. Oh, we go back a day again, kind of same thing, right? This being a balanced day. So here's value here. Let me draw it here because it will only go forward 2 days or use 2 days. So here's the value area. So we rotate up. Any legs? Nope. Oh, down. Anything? Oh, we're back into balance. Right, then we end the session. Right, that's just a typical rotational day. Here we get, it's very unusual to have such an extreme downtrend followed by such an extreme uptrend, and then back into a balanced day. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. So let me get everything drawn off of here. So we covered. Okay, we're through auto splitting. Let's get to paint bars. Now you can turn them on or off, right? As I showed you that. But now I'm using them in the settings, in the parameters. You can choose your bar color, whatever you like. I'm just using this gray white because it just stands out nicely against the darker background. But this is all just typical, whatever your color preferences are. Now we'll show you one thing here. Typically you're going to want the bars in front, but you could put them in the back, right? If for whatever reason you wanted them hidden by the volume profile here, you can't see them, right? So just in case you were to hit that and not go, hey, where'd my bars go, right? So now we want to bring them to the front. So now you see them here. You see them there. Just another choice for you. Whether you want the profile, right? Do you actually want the profile drawn? Right now, it's going to distort a little bit when you've got smoothing, or you've here. Smoothing is off here, but let's go down here and I'll just kind of tie them in. So here we get. I'm going down to just 2 ticks per level, and you see it starts to hug it a little bit more. Oh, I can make these. That's just mouse wheel if I want them wider or not. What kind of splitting do I want? Do I want major splitting? Do I want no splitting? I tend to keep a little split in there. Oh shit, that's not what I want. I want this one. Let's get a little bit, something like that, right? There's 1, maybe 2, not bad, right? So I can see those little nuggets right now. The outline is just kind of giving you an additional visual representation there. But additionally to that, we can also show the TPO outline, right? So for those of you that are unaware, the difference between the two is TPO, time price opportunity, is how much time was spent there. Volume profile is how much volume was there, right? So you get a second POC here, so you get what price did the market spend the most time, right? So we get that second POC, and we see also down here you get a nugget down here where the market spent time here. Interesting, right? Doesn't look. You can't really see that in the volume profile. That's the advantage of the TPO. We say, well, the market stalled here, right? We stalled here for a minute. This was consolidation before we dropped off. Let's get that one off here. So that, again, just another option for you. And then we looked at this earlier. Do you want to see the day, the RTH division here? So that's here, I'm 9:30. Do I want to see that? I don't know why you wouldn't, but the TPO, right, that can be good. Start the day, right? If you're looking at the overnight, that can be useful. That's personal preferences. Do whether do you want the session divider? I don't know why you wouldn't. And do you want the outline or not? Right? Again, that's more of a visual preference. What else do we have? Now this is ticks per level. I was just kind of fussing with it. You should put your mouse wheel on that, and you can take them lower, fatter, whatever you prefer there. How many? I think for the ES 4 is good. Something like that. So you're getting a four tick range there for each of those volume profiles. Vertical spacing, how much spacing do you want? Again, it's just a mouse wheel. Right? Just put your mouse over that and spin to what you're liking. This is the profile width. So if I wanted those fatter, for whatever reason, 10 is probably a good starting point. So I'm getting, note here, I'm getting the volume profile value area. But if I were to put the TPO on as well, I'm getting the TPO value area as well. So you're getting both value areas, and here sometimes there's a wide disparity between the two of them because time and volume, right, don't always necessarily overlap. Okay, we got that. Give that a second to run. Okay, so let me. Now I'm going to take the TPO off. I think that covers everything. So I think that's all with regards to your choices of what's available to you. Here, I'm going to show you one other thing here because I just accidentally turned it on. Now, when you are using the custom session, which the advantage of the custom sessions, we talked about this before, the advantage of this is that I can highlight the RTH, right? So if I want just the full trading session, I do have that option, right? So I can look at it here. So here, and Friday is a good example for this, right? So here's the big sell-off overnight, and then we start the day, and so we go from balance through imbalance, then we find balance down here. So, but I would want to have the volume profile of the move down. So if there were any low volume nodes or places where we stalled, or for whatever reason the market had a reaction there, I'd want to, you know, going into the day, I'd want to see that myself. Maybe don't. But here, so let me go back to going to custom session. Right, so it's just going to give me the RTH. Well, so here I got a couple of choices how I want to do that. Well, one, if you have our toolbar, which is one of the nice features of our toolbar, I could just draw it in. Right, so and you can do that anywhere on any, you know, at any point in the chart. Right, so I can see here. Oh, that's kind of cool. Here, the POC of the overnight is in line with the POC of the day session. Interesting, right? And here I get my value area, so all that, right? But for some, not all of you have our toolbar here, although I'd encourage you to consider it. That's one choice. You could do it that way. The other choice is you could add a second version of the volume profile, which is what I've done here. So if I know that, well, you can always check which is which just by turning them on or off, right? So if I go back here and I turn this one on and I'm on custom session, right? I'm on custom, but I want the overnight. So now I'm just going to turn on another one. So I've just added a second volume profile. Let me. Oh, well, here that's not bad. So here's my second volume profile that's isolating the overnight hours. Right? So, and again, it's interesting that the overnight POC is exactly the same as the day session POC. Interesting. So obviously there's something there. What is that level? 39.6650. Oh, something right there for whatever reason. This was significant to the market. We tried to get above, below. Here we see. So and now I've also got the low volume nodes being identified and drawn forward in the session. So, you know, any value there? Well, you know, I'll let you draw your own conclusions there as to whether or not there might be some value here. I mean, this is a bit of a front run, but as we're approaching that, again, we looked at this before. I mean, you know, this may be the lowest volume, but the whole section here is really, I would be monitoring that whole thing. Plus, you get you can see it here. In addition to you got a fair value gap here. Right, from the two candles, get it right here. So I've got from this low to this high, I've got a fair value gap here. right? So that comes up as exactly what we test at a low volume node. That happens to be the session high, and then I've got the mid here. So if we look at this high to this low, that happens to be the 50% mark from the entire range of the overnight. So that's another way that you can do that. Of course, that you'd get the same thing over here. Now here's a day where in the overnight we didn't do anything, right? Here's a dramatic overnight. So here, is it adding any value? Not really. Here, not really. Right, so it's inconsequential here for the most part, and then we go into the day session, right, and that's what you're keying off of. Inconsequential, very consequential, right, with some kickers. All right, so I think that walks us through all the features there that would be meaningful, right? So not necessarily about application, that'll be the follow-up video, but I wanted to at least have a finished product here because this is now a completed release for us. So this is available to all for trial. Of course, just download it. Fully featured for 7 days, right? So that way you could be sure to get 5 trading days. That's why we've added the 2 extra days. So regardless of what day of the week you download it on, you're going to be guaranteed you'll get 5 full trading days. So that's a choice for you. I'd encourage you to try it. Do a little tweaking here. Of course, everything that I've shown you here, the majority of it can be tweaked or color coded or changed, right? Maybe you don't like, maybe white's too bright for you on the low volume nodes, or what all of these things can be changed and tweaked to your personal liking. So I really just wanted to get through all the features that were available to you. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I encourage you guys to give it a spin. I think you'll find some value, and I think you'll find there is nothing else quite like it on the market. Okay guys, have a good one, and we'll talk to you on the next video.